Imagine a park that's equal parts Death Valley, Grand Canyon, and Westworld. A park where you can soak in hot springs, cross the border into Mexico for lunch, or even climb a mountain. That's right, this week we're talking about one of my all-time favorite national parks, Big Bend National Park in Texas. This week, I'm sharing my 5 favorite things to do in Big Bend National Park. And don't forget to stick around to the end because I'm sharing a Big Bend travel planning hack that is going to make planning your trip super easy. What's up, friends? I'm Brooke, aka Brooke in Boots. I quit my job as an attorney in New York City so I could spend more time hiking, road tripping, and exploring this incredible world. I'm bringing you along on the ride and sharing advice so you can live the adventurous life you've always dreamed of. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's hit the trail. Big Bend National Park is located in a very remote corner of far west Texas. The park is 6 hours from El Paso, 7 hours from San Antonio, and 8 hours from Austin, making this one of the least accessible national parks in the lower 48. And that remote location helps explain why it's still one of the least visited national parks in the continental United States. But if you're willing to make the trek out, it is so worth it. I first visited Big Bend in 2022 and I immediately fell in love with it. So if you're sold on Big Bend, here are 5 must-do things you need to check out while visiting Big Bend National Park. Number 1, take a hike in the Chisos Mountains. Big Bend is a hiker's paradise, and there's no better area for it inside the park than in the Chisos Mountain region, which is located in the center of the park. The Chisos Mountains are unique in that they're the only mountain range that are entirely contained inside the national park. Essentially, the entire Chisos mountain range sits in the middle of Big Bend National Park. And while you're picturing probably deserts with cactus, and Big Bend does have that, the Chisos is actually filled with these incredible pine forests. They've got black bears, they've got mountain lions, they've got epic views, and even snow in winter. It sits at an elevation about 5,000 feet, so you're quite a bit higher here than you are in the rest of the park, making this an ideal place for hiking even when it's too hot in other areas of the park. There are a ton of awesome hikes here, from easy hikes like the Chiso Basin Loop, which is essentially just a really nice nature walk around the perimeter of the Chisos Basin, to moderate hikes like the Window Trail, which has some pretty incredible views of the desert below these unique rock formations. Or if you're up for it, there are strenuous all-day hikes like Emery Peak, which is the tallest point in the park, or the South Rim. These are also popular backpacking routes if you're looking to do a multi-day adventure. Now, my pick for the best hike in Big Bend National Park, if you're looking for a moderate day hike, has got to be the Lost Mine Trail. This is a 4.8 mile round trip out and back, which ascends through the Chisos Mountains to these incredible views of the peaks and the desert floor around you. The views start after about a mile in, so you don't have to go all the way to the top, but if you do, it is well worth it. Number 2, take a drive on Ross Maxwell Scenic Drive. Driving Ross Maxwell Scenic Drive is one of those must-do things you absolutely have to do when you're in Big Bend National Park, and it's one of my favorite scenic drives in any of the 30 national parks that I've been to. It's about a 31 mile out and back road that takes 45 minutes one way if you're driving it straight through, but there are tons of trails, overlooks, and historic sites that you're going to want to see along the way. So really driving this 30-mile road is going to take you anywhere between a couple of hours and the entire day. And of course, Ross Maxwell Scenic Drive ends at one of the most iconic spots inside Big Bend National Park, and number 3 on our list of must-see things in Big Bend National Park. Santa Elena Canyon is a massive and beautiful river canyon carved by the Rio Grande that sits at the very end of Ross Maxwell Scenic Drive. From here, you can take a short trail from the parking area, which leads to the mouth of the canyon, which rises dramatically almost 1,500 feet above you. There's a short trail that leads up a small series of switchbacks and into the canyon itself, where you can follow it all the way to the water's edge. It kind of feels like a mini Narrows in Zion, but without all the crowds. If you're interested in exploring more along the river, there are a number of canoe and kayak trip operators that are located just outside the park in the quirky and very small town of Lajitas. Those trips can run anywhere from a couple of hours to a couple of days, depending on where you want to explore. If rafting the river sounds a little too cold for you, then you can check out the next best thing to do in Big Bend instead, and that is visit the hot springs. Here, a short sandy trail leads to the remains of the historic bathhouse district in Big Bend, located on the edge of the Rio Grande. Here you can see the remains of the stone bathhouses that once lined the area, and while the bathhouses are gone, the hot springs still exist, and feel free to jump in and take a dip. Now, everyone we saw in the hot springs had all of their clothing on, or rather they had their bathing suits on, but the rangers did warn me that at night, a lot of people consider these hot springs to be clothing optional. So if you're bringing kids and don't want them asking any awkward questions, I would go earlier in the day rather than later. Before we get to the number 5 thing on the list of things you have to do in Big Bend National Park, you might be wondering, man, wouldn't it be convenient if someone planned the perfect itinerary that already includes all of these things? Well, don't worry. I got you. This is the Brook and Boots Big Bend Itinerary Guide, a printable PDF ebook that includes all of the information you need to plan a totally epic and seamless trip to Big Bend National Park. This guide includes a detailed 3-day itinerary as well as helpful information like hotels, restaurants, tour operators, hiking information, and important travel and safety information to make sure that you have an incredible Big Bend experience. This book includes over 20 pages of incredible information, and it's only $3.99. But if you enter the code ADVENTURE at checkout, you'll get 20% off. Finally, the number 5 thing to do in Big Bend National Park actually involves leaving the park. Hear me out. Big Bend is unique in that it's the only national park in the United States that has an official port of entry border crossing inside the park. And that's because the tiny town of Boquillas del Carmen, Mexico is located just across the river from Big Bend. Using the Boquillas crossing port of entry, you can totally legally enter Mexico and return for an awesome day trip from Big Bend. The whole process takes a couple of hours, and you do need to bring a U.S. passport if you're planning on going. Once you leave the port of entry and they check your passport, you'll cross the Rio Grande, paying cash for this convenient ferry rowboat that will take you across. On the other side, you can either walk the half mile to town using the dusty road. I promise you will not get lost. There's only one place the road goes. Or you can hire one of the helpful guides who will take you there in a donkey, in a pickup truck, and they'll also provide helpful information about the area and answer any of your questions. Once you're in the town, I'll be honest, there's not a ton to do there, but there are 2 restaurants that are both clean and serve pretty much the same menu. You'll get great options like tacos, enchiladas, and of course, a cold cerveza. After lunch, feel free to shop around, purchase some handicrafts to support the local economy, and head back into Big Bend. The whole process takes about 4 hours. If you're looking for more incredible things to do in Big Bend National Park, I promise we really only scratched the surface of this park in this video, then check out my blog post, 14 Things to Do in Big Bend National Park. I'll link it in the description below. If you thought this video was helpful, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Follow along for more national parks, helpful content, and hiking videos, and I will see you out on the trail. Bye!